Hi guys, Dave Vincent here. I'm not sure where I'm going to post this. Today I want to talk about the death of the worldly Christian. I just did my first. Well, it wasn't really my first, but my first actual published um, podcast the other day on the death of the megachurch. It's not really dead, but a lot of them are fading fast. There's a lot of issues. There's always been a lot of sin in the megachurch. The large thing. It's a worldly thing, and so that's what occurred to me when I was done. It's like it's not just the reason I don't like the big churches is because it's worldly. It's so worldly. The whole fame and fortune, and not just fame and fortune, but contentment and comfort, and nothing wrong with comfort. Of course, we all want to be comfortable. I'd rather be in a comfortable room with air conditioning in the Philippines than be out in the middle of somewhere where it's sweating and nasty. Of course, I like comfort. But this idea that Jesus died on a cross so I could have a comfortable life, and it's sort of personified in those big fancy places. And people say, I just watched a movie in a western in this big fancy beautiful church, and I'm thinking, people think that this is a good thing. So why do they build big fancy? Because they believe that God is this big beautiful thing, and they're trying to maybe, but God's in the small thing. And the most important thing about this video and this idea is that we need to die to ourselves. So as people are starting to pull away from that, and maybe I still have a concept of a book that I haven't done. My writing has really suffered in the last year. It really has gone down. Maybe I don't think I'm done though. But the idea was a book about the rich young ruler, because I see so many wealthy, God-fearing people, maybe good people, people like Charlie Kirk, good God-fearing people, but it seems like their ladder's on the wrong wall. Like America first, no, God first. Well, I have to take care of my family, yes, but God first. And all these things. Um, I just I have a different worldview than most people. But I'd like to see the death of the worldly Christian. I'd like to see people get an eternal perspective in their heart and their life. Will God bless you in those things? Sure, sometimes He does. What does this come down to? It comes down to two things: deny yourself, follow me. Right? I say, well, that's optional. Okay, it's not optional for me. It might be optional for you, but for me, there's no option in it. I've known this for years. I know lately I've been struggling with the sin that so easily besets us. And then I shared this the other day. I was reading John Wesley the other day about one of the videos I was working on or whatever. I was reading John Wesley, the holiness guy. Oh, how dare you say we should be holy? People hate it. They hate it when you. Anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I was reading John Wesley, and he was talking about how as you're endeavoring to live this holy life, this Roman 8's life, this overcomer's life that the Bible talks about in the New Testament as a real thing. That as you get closer to God, then He opens up your mind and your to the wickedness of your heart, the true wickedness of your human heart, the flesh, as I call it, or many people call it the flesh, and that leads you to a choice as you feel this animal part of you that's could be anger, could be murder, could be other things. But as you feel this part of you, and you're like, what the heck? I thought I was. No, you're not. But it gives you a choice, and the choice is to die to that. In other words, to walk away from that, to make choices throughout the day and throughout the moment, to walk away from that, and to lean in, and or the choice is to give into it and just to believe that He will forgive you. And I think probably many of us will do a little bit of giving in, but not in an overt, horrible way, and hope that we can just be forget. They believe that He'll just forgive us because He forgives us, and then at the same time we want to lean into Him, so we have this dual personality, right? But there's this knowing inside of me, and hopefully you, that that's not right, and that you know whoever walks in the Spirit will not fulfill that, right? So it's all about dying to self. So it's all about the worldly Christian dying. It's all about what the death of the worldly Christian. Well, so I read this thing. It was I don't know. It was one of those Christianity Todays, I'm starting to really not like all the professional Christian stuff. Like, read a Bible in 20 here, get this app or buy this book proper. And I sell books too, so it's not like I'm above it. But it just strikes me as so worldly, you know. Like even some people are saying, well, you can be successful in Jesus and da 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 da, and then you can use the money for the kingdom. Yeah, that's what we tell ourselves. If only I was a millionaire, I would give so much money to the kingdom, and blah blah. Would you? Huh. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to the death of the worldly Christian. Why? Because I believe that most people would rather. What would you rather do? What good is it if you gain the world and lose your soul, as the scripture says? I don't want to gain the whole world and lose my soul. Toby Mac. What good is it? It's no good. What good is it to be a worldly Christian? It's no good. So I'm praying and hoping that as these things are fading and people are starting to have a desire, and as these people are being baptized, so many kids in colleges are trying to turn to God, and they're but unfortunately they're also turning to churchiosity and rituals but I'm hoping that there's always a remnant. God will he'll grab people from that. I've been one of the guys that I watch his podcast. I don't subscribe to him because he's got some stuff I don't like. But as I've been watching his podcast lately, and he's a brilliant guy, and I usually agree with him. But I've been noticing, and he's a very churched. He belongs to an old church. I don't want to name the church, but he belongs to a very ancient traditional church. But I've noticed that he doesn't have that heart of of that I would say. He doesn't have that. So here, let me just. I'm trying to say this in a kind way, and I'm trying to say this in a precise way that you'll understand what I'm saying. So let's try it this way. The other day he was talking about something about AI and something about living forever, something about how horrible that would be, and something about how life is short and how scary that is. That was it. How scary that is. That life is short, and because it's short, then we build temples and we build things that are permanent, and we try to attach ourselves, and that's all probably true in the human psyche. But that's not the way it is for a Christian. Why? So who cares? It doesn't matter how long. Like, well, aren't you scared of dying? No, I'm not scared of dying. No, I'd be more scared of stumbling and living a horrible, sinful life after God has called me and I've tasted how good He is. I'd be more scared of that than dying. Jim Elliot, I don't know if you know who he is, amazing missionary who was killed by the Alcas. Really good movie called The End of the Spear. There's another one called the Glory of Splendor or something like that. Several books. Saint Stephen Saint something. Elizabeth Elliot, Jim Elliot. Right. Just a sec. Here goes the brain thing. Just a second. There it is. So Jim Elliot says, Lord, give me a full life like you had, not a long life necessarily. Lord, give me the life you had, not necessarily a long life, but a full life. And I would, even though my wife wants me to stay around forever, I'd like to stay with her forever on this earth, if you know. But I would still much rather have a short life in Him than a long life as a worldly Christian. David Brainerd. This I'll close with David Brainerd. Then the world has never seen somebody say what a sold out man to Christ is. But I mean, I think Paul was that guy, so I disagree. But someone who would actually follow through. And Ravenhill once said, whenever someone comes along, and someday someone will come along that will actually believe God's word and try to live it out, and the rest of us will be ashamed because we'll see that we don't. So David Brainerd was an amazing person. Look him up. I'm not sure about the spelling of his last name. It's a Brain or Brenard or Brainerd. David Brainerd. Look it up. There's a really good. I have his diary, very famous diary. Jonathan Edwards printed it up. And amazing life, very short life. He died in his 20s, but he impacted the world in such a powerful way. Not during his life. He did. So he was the first, what you call, missionary to the Indians, the first one of any note. He was a missionary in, I think, in the wherever Jonathan Edwards lives up in the eastern, northeastern country. And he went and stayed with the Indians, and even though he didn't speak their language, he led several to the Lord. And because he was there all the time, he slept in huts, he slept out in the middle of nowhere. He gave his life for them, and he had these amazing amazing prayer life, but he also honestly, to be honest with you, he suffered from depression and anxiety, and he probably had some kind of mental health issue on that part. So some people would just throw it away and say, well, he's just an idiot because the close he was like that. The closer he got to God, the more he saw himself as an evil. And then he would have these really great days and we'd have these amazing prayers and he would pray for 3-4 hours. He'd pray in the snow and fell asleep. One time he prayed in the snow and he fell asleep in the snow. And he woke up. He tells the story. And he woke up and he couldn't move because his body was. He wound up with TB, tuberculosis, and he wound up dying from it. So he wound up getting really sick and dying because of his exposure to the world. But he would. But once he got into that moment of giving himself in prayer, he wouldn't let go, and it would take him over, and he would have these glorious, amazing sessions with God. I've never had a session like that. The most amazing thing happened to me was when he touched me and saved me. And then there's been other amazing things here and there, but I've never experienced that, right? And then he would have these moments where he would just be wretched. I feel wretched, and I can't do it. And then the next day would be good. So he had these emotional highs and lows. But at the end of the day, he gave everything for the Lord, and he gave everything for these Native Americans. We call them Indians, so you can call them what you want. I'm not trying to offend anyone. But he gave everything for these people. And then he wound up dying in Jonathan Edwards' home at a very young age. And Jonathan Edwards' daughter, I forgot her name, I'm sorry. But she actually fell in love with him. She's she was like 17 or I don't know how old she was. She was in her teens and he was 20. I don't know, 27 or something. And her father said, if you stay with him, you're going to get sick also, and he's very contagious, and you're going to die too. And she said, that's okay. She did. She sacrificed herself to give him any comfort he could have in the last days of his life. And so why do I bring up him? That's just a crazy guy. What was he doing out in the snow? And because he sacrificed his any comfort he could have had. And so what became of him? Well, Jonathan Edwards published his diary, and his diary moved John Wesley. His diary, I would say, ignited the Great Awakening and ignited the whole Wesleyan movement. If you know anything about that, when Wesley read his stuff, and he's like, oh my, this man had such a love of God, and he was so non-worldly, and he was so. So should I say we should all do that? Well, if I had a choice to be him or to be, I don't know, pick a famous millionaire Christian, John MacArthur. Pick a famous millionaire Christian. I don't know, Tony Evans, Bill Hybels, Rick Warren. I would rather be Rick Warren or David Brainerd. I'd rather be David Brainerd because this world is gonna fade and eternity lasts forever, guys. So I pray for the death of the worldly Christian. I pray that maybe the Lord will help me write that book about the warnings to the millionaire Christians. I plan on writing it. I hope to write it if it's in His will, and I get off of my couch and quit watching old. Now I'm into westerns. Quit watching the old westerns from the 40s and 50s and 60s, and spend more time in Him. And anyway, so that's my prayer, guys, and that's my hope for all of us that we can learn to not to not be in this world, be in this world, but don't be of this world. My kingdom is not of this world, Jesus said, but it's in this world because it's in us. So be in this world and love others. You have to love others, or else you have no ministry, you have no life. Jesus created us so that we could have love and be in a relationship with others. Not to go in the mountains and pray for 5 hours a day. That's fine, but I could do that right here in this room. I don't know about 5 hours, but whatever you can do. God bless you guys. Talk for now.